You are in for a treat today. My guests today are not new to the Flipping 50 show, but they were such a hit the first time around, an inspiration and a source of intrigue. We did do a video podcast or a video recording of the audio podcast this time. We also did that last time, although it wasn't released yet. So, what I'd like is this is a better opener. And this is the reason we did a second one. Well, selfishly, I wanted to see them all again because they're marvelous. They are inspirational. And that is really what they're all about. It's not all me and this is what I'm doing, but it is how does this lift all women up? How does this change the aging game and what is possible at any age? And break barriers, and it's made such a difference for them that I think some of you can relate to this. When you first get into fitness, you first find an activity that you actually enjoy. Nobody is making you do it because you're in a sport or you're being punished and so you have to run. You may remember those days. But when you first participate in something that gives you a new sense of self, a different way to think about yourself, like I'm somebody who golfs, I'm somebody who is a biker. I taught myself to swim at, such and such. But those things don't just change your body. They're not just about your muscle and your bone, which of course we know is important, but they're about your identity. They're about the way you begin to think and to see yourself. And that I think is really what today is about. Beyond that, we talk a little bit more about the competitive nature of what it is they're doing as bodybuilding, bikini competitors, figure competition, and it would even begin to actually do justice to the defining pieces of that because it's a little less important to me which one they're competing in as it is the lifestyle. So we really dug into in order to do what you're doing, to feel confident and to compete on stage, and many of them are winning, by the way, what does it take? What does it take on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, given days of the week? How long are you spending in the gym? How much dedication is there to weight training and or to cardio? And how much do you really plan your pre workout fuel and your post workout fuel? And what is it like for you to juggle a family, a social life? And one of our attendees here is a good friend who's also not a stranger, Helen Fritsch, who is actually, she's local, but she's also a health coach and she's traveling. So, as a flight attendant, she's all over. I think she was in Portugal last week. So, how is that? Right. So many of you who are traveling and going through time zones know the challenges that can come with finding good food in airports or airplanes and while you're traveling in hotels or you're at meetings. But I think you'll find today, after having listened, it can be done. It's just whether you will choose to do it and what becomes your normal, your natural. And there's a lot of inspiration here. So you can go to youtube.com/, um, flipping 50, flipping 50 TV. That's my channel. I will put a link in the show notes so you can go over there and subscribe. You'll know when the show comes out. So I'm going to try to release simultaneously the podcast episode, always releasing on either a Tuesday or Friday. And we'll release this video to correspond with it at the same time or close to that. So we are kind of doing the recording in a different way in order to accommodate the wonderful individuals that I wanted you to see on camera and see their response. So with a group of 5 other speakers, and one of them was missing. So Julia, just a shout out to you. We missed you, and we know that you were otherwise obligated. So we'll catch you again next time. So without further ado, we have Renee, we have Janine, and we have Helen and Tama joined us for today's show. And on the last show that we did, should we release that, we'll make sure we link to the audio, but the video also featured Julia. So with that, let's dive in because I think you're going to love this. Welcome back, ladies. And we are a small group now. We may grow to a bigger group just to let all viewers know and to let them know we are doing a viewer kind of a program. So I hinted at this the last time we met. We're an audio podcast. However, we're taking video today because I think you need to see all these ladies. I'm not asking them to parade around in high heels. However, they look pretty darn good on camera. So, welcome back. I have with me Renee. Say hello.
Hello, Renee Landers.
And Janine
Hi, Janine Priest.
and Helen.
Hi, Helen Fritsch.
And of course, it's me just hosting the group. So there are some very specific questions that we wanted to dive into this time. Given there was so much interest, so much curiosity about, I'd love to know more. I want to know a little bit more about it. And of course, I think if you ask anybody, any bodybuilder, I think in fact right now, somewhere on Instagram or Facebook, there's an ad for whether you want to be a bodybuilder, you just want to look one, here's the meal plan. Somebody is selling that right now. And I think it's such great marketing because everybody wants to look like that. But I think we're a little reluctant and we think maybe this has got to take too much time. And so there's my get out of jail card. I don't actually have to try for it. Right. So, Renee, I'm just going to start with you. And for those of you who are watching, this to me is like, what's the game show where you could see everybody? Because it feels like that because I can just see you. It's kind of like the Brady Bunch. But Renee, I'm just going to have you start with that one and I'll ask everybody to lean into it. How much time do you actually spend in the gym each week? And I know it probably changes if you're training and you're leading right up to a competition and then not. So you can lean into that, both of that.
Okay. Well, I would say whenever I'm competing, like right now, I'm prepping to compete. I'm doing the gym 5 days a week. I am doing 5 days a week, and it's usually about an hour of weight training and maybe another 45 minutes of cardio. That's kind of my regular routine Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday I try to get the cardio in too. That's pretty much it. It doesn't change that much. I might drop it down to 3 times a week lifting, other than that. But honestly, it doesn't change too much with me. I don't know about the other girls, but with me, I've kind of adjusted to this 5 days a week thing, and I'm okay with that.
Great. Okay. So who else wants to go? Janine, do you want to speak into that too? And I know you are also competing.
Yeah. I'm about 8 weeks out. And I also, same with Renee, I don't stray from my workouts. I work out at least 5 days a week, a good hour and a half or more. And one of those days in between is cardio. And then Sunday is always kind of my rest day. Other than that, I do have a trainer that I work with for lower body, and I love that because it really pushes me. But yeah, I do 5 days a week consistently.
Fantastic. Helen, how about you? And Tama, thank you for joining us. We're going to come right back to you. So hang on.
I am not prepping for a show right now. And
Okay.
so I am in the gym normally around 4 days a week, sometimes 5, depending on my work schedule. Being a flight attendant and traveling, especially overseas, sometimes it varies. But when I'm in show prep mode, I'm usually in the gyms a solid 5 days a week, if not 6. And then I do have one day that's complete rest that I don't do anything, even I don't do even any cardio. I just need to give my body complete rest.
So let me unpack that. So when you're in the gym 5-6 days a week, for how long is that a one time I go and do the workout in the morning, or is that I know a lot of people are envisioning, like high school 2-a-day football players. I got to go in the morning. I got to go in the night. What is it really like? You get there at 8 and you leave at 9:30, or what does that look like?
I'm a morning person, and I'm also a procrastinator. I know that about me. So if I need to get things done, I do it first thing in the morning because as the day rolls on, I can come up with a plethora of excuses as to not to go to the gym or basically do anything I need to do. So I'm a morning person. I'd rather get up super early and get to the gym and get it done. But I normally lift weights for about an hour. And then cardio, depending on where I am in the prep, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. As we get closer to stage time, my coach assesses if I need more cardio than that. I've never, in all the 9 years that I've been competing, have ever done over an hour of cardio. I feel blessed, in saying that, because I hear horror stories of competitors doing 2 hours or 3 hours of cardio, just trying to get, leaner. So I feel very fortunate in that respect.
Can you talk a little bit, and anyone else, feel free to chime in, and Tama, I'm coming for you. So just be ready. You're on deck. Talk a little bit about cardio, because I know everybody is wondering what kind of cardio, what level of cardio, or how hard are you working when you're doing your cardio?
Well, I would say I'm doing usually the elliptical. I might do a little treadmill if I'm trying to, do a little something different. But the elliptical is kind of my go-to. But I have started doing the Stairmaster just this week because I need to tighten up things, in the rear more. So
everybody
so I've started
understands.
that too. And so I would just say that it's between, I may be just walking. If it's a beautiful day, I might just do fast walking outside, but it would be either the Stairmaster or the treadmill, and maybe around 45 minutes more or less. And I won't need to lose very much weight at all before showtime. I'm like 117 today, and I might get down to 110. So I don't want to do too much cardio too soon.
And so it sounds to me like you're not getting to breathlessness. You're not like doing interval training. You're just kind of maybe zone 2, kind of going out, doing more endurance training. Am I right?
Yes, I would say I might try to step it up some, but
Okay.
maybe a little bit of a hit. But in general, I'm just doing the cardio. I'm just getting it done.
Yep. Okay. We don't want to leave you sit there. Gorgeous. Okay. So Tama, welcome. So you kind of we jumped in with the first question, and that is, for all listeners who are saying, yes, I'd love to look like this, but I'm not sure I have the time. How much time do you spend training? And you can address that in an answer that is both when you're training for an event or getting ready for prep right before, versus you're just staying tuned up to feel good.
Okay. Generally, if I'm just staying tuned up to feel good, it's no more than an hour a day, like 15, 20 minutes of a warm up, which is, walking on the treadmill or walking outside, and some dynamic stretches, and then a 45-minute workout. So it's not a whole lot. Nutrition is big in that too. If you didn't eat nutritiously the whole time, you might have a little different scenario. So you know how that goes hand in hand. When I'm in contest prep though, it's a lot more actually, because there's so much more that goes into it. But I'll do anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half workout. I train 5 to 6 days a week. And then I'll do cardio like in the evening. I like to split it up. So I'll do my workout in the morning, and then in the evening, I'll do cardio. And my cardio generally is just walking. I find that some people can put on muscle easily. I'm not one of those people. So if I do too aggressive of a cardio, like I love to run, but if I run, it eats my muscle. So about the best that I can do for my cardio is a brisk walk, and I love it. But I do it in the evening, and then I do posing practice after my cardio. So, and then a sauna too on top of it. So when I'm in prep, I'm looking at about probably 3 hours a day, that I'm working towards that goal.
Okay. Just for each of you, could you also comment on so many of our Flipping 50 program participants are used to doing total body, and they're doing that a couple times a week. So the idea of doing, 5 or 6 days a week, explain a little bit how you do that. So you're probably doing a split routine. You're probably doing some combination of muscle groups. What does a week look like without giving away all your training secrets? Okay.
Do you want me to go, or?
Sure. Yes, that would be great.
Okay. So I do a training split now, and I'm a bikini athlete. So we're big on glutes and shoulders. So 3 days a week, I'll train glutes, hamstrings, legs, not a lot of quads, but I do train quads and calves as well. But it's focused on glutes and hamstrings. And then 3 days a week, I'll do upper body, but mostly the focus is on shoulders and lats. And then at least one of those shoulders day, I'll really make a really good back day too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Janine, do you want to lean into that?
Yeah, I've been my split has always kind of been the same. Sometimes I do like I have to kind of change it up a bit because of work also. My split usually on Mondays, it's always back and buys. Tuesdays are legs, Wednesdays shoulders. Thursday is usually just my cardio day. Friday, I usually do legs again or back and shoulders. And then on Saturday, I do legs again. And then Sunday's my rest day. I pretty much try to hit everything. But it also depends on where you're kind of lacking. Like I've been really trying to build my shoulders up. So I try to do maybe more shoulders, like 3 times a week versus 2. And I really feel like my trainer really kicks my, you know what I mean? So
Shoulders.
I do,
Yeah.
that's it. He kicks my lower body. So I do rest days. I only do glutes twice a week. Glutes, legs, quads, whatever. And it seems to have always worked for me. And then again, as far as cardio, same with Tama. I just do walking. I do steady state because when I was used to be a long distance runner, I just ran off all my muscle. Mm-hmm. So I think that steady state really helps to preserve your muscle more. Mm-hmm. And it's nice. Like you said, you can go out and take your dog for a walk and really have a great cardio session.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think a lot of listeners can relate to I think that steady state actually, if you lean into strength training and walking, I mean, that can mm-hmm. be the best pair for no matter what your goals are, but decreasing cortisol sometimes is like the obstacle. We've got to remove that so that we can burn the fat. Yeah. And a lot of times that's the answer to leaning. I love that. Okay. Mm-hmm. So now the question is, how do you bookend your workouts in terms of, and each of you might want to speak into this as you answer, is it easy for you to gain muscle or is it harder for you to gain muscle because you may eat differently based on this? But how do you pre and post fuel for those strength training workouts specifically? How conscious are you about what are you doing before you leave and when you come back?
I think all of us are very conscious of this. Personally, mm-hmm. I'm an ectomorph. And mm-hmm. so I naturally have a hard time putting on muscle. I really mm-hmm. have my entire life. So for me, pre and post workout is when I'm going to have the biggest portions of my carbohydrates to help, fuel my body as well as feed my muscles after the workout is over. I have a giant metabolism still to this day, and it's kind of crazy that I'll eat 4 or 5 times a day, and especially when I'm at work and if I'm out sightseeing in Europe with friends and I'm pulling turkey burgers out of my purse and, sweet potatoes, and they're cracking up thinking, what do you have in your purse? Because they want to drink, and eat tapas and drink sangria. And I'm just like, okay, I'm in prep now. That's not an option for me. And if I'm going to be gone for hours away, I don't want to lug my cooler with me, but I can bring things in my purse that I know that will stay for a couple of hours. And so it's rather amusing just to see the reactions as I'm being called Houdini, pulling things out of my purse on a regular basis. But
I was thinking Mary Poppins, but Houdini works. Okay.
But, especially in our 60s now, too, as we increase in age, our hormones decrease. And so it's even harder now for women over 60 to put on muscle, especially after a hormone panel and your hormones are non-existent. So I'm personally on HRT therapy right now, just a little bit of testosterone to try to help me put on some muscle because that's a good alternative for me. But
I wanted to ask this question too. So in preparation and when you do a contest, are you able to be on HRT? Is that quote unquote legal?
Our league, the NPC and the IFBB, they don't drug test. So you can be pretty much on anything that you want to be on. And a lot of athletes are. It's just kind of the way of the world right now. So it's not something that people open and freely talk about.
Right.
It's the choice between you and yourself, or you and your coach. So that's just something that people deal with on their own. I'm just on HRT therapy. I'm not on anything else right now. I do have leukemia, so I don't really think adding anything extra to that scenario would be beneficial for my health.
Yeah.
But, you look, and some of these athletes, they look amazing. And so these, other supplements definitely work. It's just not a good choice for me. So I don't really try to judge other people as how about their fitness journeys. But I am on HRT therapy right now.
Great. Okay. Definitely that was a question. So anybody else who wants to volunteer, whether you are, or you were, or you're thinking about it, or you're just not consciously, would be great. And Renee, do you want to talk a little bit about your pre-workout fuel, post-workout?
Yeah. And it's similar to Helen's, really. I usually get to the gym somewhere around 10:30, around that time frame. So in the morning, I'm fueling up the same way. I'm having my protein and my carbs, egg whites, oatmeal with some protein powder, collagen peptides. So I'm beefing up my morning for sure. And then after I work out, I bring my food with me, and I'll have, rice and some, maybe a shrimp or whatever. So I'm having something after too. And I carry it with me just in case I'm not going straight back home. So I sort of carry my food with me just to make sure I'm prepared. And so I'm doing that both ways. I'm fueling it before and after. And so that's the typical scenario for most people, I think, too.
Great. Even when you're not competing, do you continue that? I'm going to carry my food with me because I'm going to run 4 errands after a workout. Yes.
Great. Yeah, it's my habit. It's been since before I even knew what bodybuilding was, before. I mean, when I was just lifting weights, because I log my food, and I know what I need to have in a day. So I sort of pack it all up, and it's just what I do everywhere I go. And it makes it easy that way. You're not starving. It's just planning ahead some, which is, I love doing that. So absolutely.
Yeah, and I know, Helen, you're nodding your head, but I know that you also can probably acknowledge this is probably one of the biggest mistakes that most women will make with their exercise. It's what they do after. It's skipping, it's skimping, it's I'm going to stop, I'm going to do 3 errands, and then you're ravenous and there's nothing good, and you end up resorting to it because it's just beyond bewitching time.
The cooler for me, it's my best friend. It's like my Siamese twin. It's attached to my hip, and I have all different sizes of coolers depending on what's going on. And I mean, for me, that's a lifesaver, especially if you're a bodybuilder, that you need to consistently stay fueled.
Love it.
Yeah.
Tama, do you want to chime in on that? What's your pre-workout fuel, your post-workout plan? What's that look like for you?
Okay, also super important to make sure you get that protein and carbohydrates. So I try to get anywhere from 20 to 30 grams of protein, and maybe 45 grams of carbohydrates in beforehand, and I do the same afterwards. I really try to do the most with my protein and carbohydrates. And I may not eat a lot of carbohydrates through the rest of the day, but in order to build that muscle, you have to have the carbohydrates. At least I have to have the carbohydrates. It doesn't work otherwise for me. So I have to do it. I like to make sure that, especially with the carbohydrates, that it's a fast acting carbohydrate. So I'll use like a white rice, or I want to use a fruit that I know that's going to go right to what I need it to do. And that's what I use. As far as hormone therapy, I am on hormone therapy. I had a complete hysterectomy at the age of 50. I tried to do it by myself for 3 years, and I was miserable, not sleeping. It was hard. So I'm 60. I'll be 63 in October. So I started about 53. I did it for 3 years, felt better, stopped, and stopped for 3 years. And then I went back on it because I just feel so much better. they're low doses. I don't need a whole lot at this stage of the game, but it does keep me feeling good. And I plan on doing it forever because it makes me feel so good.
Me too.
And I think one of the things that everyone watching should acknowledge is the strength training and having the protein and not doing a lot of endurance training. You heard everybody almost echo that. All those things are leaning into supporting your testosterone and growth hormone production. You're not harming them. And so, in addition to getting the little bit of boost if you're taking it, your lifestyle is really leading to optimizing them. So, the pill or the shot or the whatever you're taking is not meant to do quote unquote the heavy lifting. See what I did there? But you actually lifestyle wise have to do that. So Janine, how about you? Tell us what's in your refrigerator and your cooler.
Well, I think with our last talk, it really sparked a spark in me. So when I went to my OB, I'm like, wait a minute, what is this HRT thing? You know, even being a nurse, I mean, I've heard yay, nay, no, it's good. No, people feel worse. So I thought, you know what, I really want some lab drawn. And I did get it drawn. And lo and behold, she was like, oh my God, you're even lower than therapeutic for postmenopausal. Let's just try you on like a half a gram of cream. It's not absorbable. I'm like, she says, if you don't like it, you can take off. So I've been on it for about probably about 8 weeks now. I haven't really noticed a whole lot of difference. So she said, well, let's put you up to a gram vaginal cream. So I won't do injections. I just won't do that. I am natural too. So I'm like, and I'm like Helen. I have a very fast metabolism and I can put on muscle very easily. The only thing I think I notice is maybe it's helping me sleep better. I really can't honestly tell the difference. I too had a partial hysterectomy and I'm on estradiol cream also. But other than that, I mean, I think I feel better, but I'm not really sure. But as far as getting ready for the gym in the morning, I'm kind of a creature of habit too. I always have my oatmeal, my eggs, my blueberries. And then before I get to the gym around 10:30, so I always need something more because I get up early. And I usually either have a protein drink, which I'm not doing now because I'm close to get prep now. So I do whole foods. So I either eat some ground beef and rice before I go work out or salmon. But I don't overload it too much. But then after I get another meal, I'm on 5 to 6 meals right now. So it's a lot, especially eating clean for me because I need a lot of calories because I'm kind of a hard gainer. So and that's another thing is I think the testosterone is helping me maintain my weight better with the clean diet, I think, which is good. I like that. So yeah, pretty much the same as everybody else. Diet is very important. I've noticed usually when I'm off season, I just eat intuitively, but when I really get geared up for a show and start eating clean, I can tell a difference, definitely.
A dramatic difference.
Yeah.
Even just in a couple of 2 or 3 weeks a month, you're already seeing like really great gains, especially with the whole carbohydrate thing. So many women in society are so afraid of carbs.
Yeah.
I do some online coaching and I've just been so shocked to see these women and they're sending me their diets and they're drinking coffee all day and then having one meal at dinner time and they can't understand why they're not losing any weight.
Yeah.
And they feel better. So, I'm a huge, and a lot of people too, and girls, you probably can attest to this too. When you meet somebody on the street or you're at work and they find out you're a bodybuilder, the first thing they'll say to me is, oh, you don't eat carbs, do you? And I'm like, I'm eating a lot of carbs. I eat a lot of protein. I eat a lot of food. And they're like, well, where do you put it? So it's kind of fun and amusing to educate them because so many people have this misunderstanding of, that whole scenario.
True.
Yeah, I'm on 160 grams of carbs right now a day. So that's a good amount. And I may add a little more here and there.
So the other thing I want to come back to you, Janine, because I don't want to let this go by. And I think that a listener may have said, wait a minute, I have a question about that. And so I want to ask it. So you mentioned that otherwise, when you were training, you might be using protein powders or doing a shake or creating your own smoothie, but not now. Can you lean into the why behind, okay, I'm getting it all from whole food now instead of the protein powders? Why is that?
Well, actually, I've always been on protein powder. So, they say don't change anything in prep if your body can handle it. Like, let's say artificial sweeteners, anything that's not what you're used to eating. My body responds to those. They're fine. I'm okay with protein powders. I do whey. I don't do vegan. I'm sorry, I just can't tolerate the taste of vegan, unfortunately. And I really do think that the whey protein really helps to build muscle, and that's just my opinion. Most coaches, and since I have a newer coach, my older coach would take it out maybe 2 or 3 weeks, but it's just a digestive issue. People say that, oh, protein powders bloat you more. They're just not as natural. It's better to have more like a single source nutrition versus supplements like the protein powder. Honestly, I don't really feel a difference. Sometimes I have to do it for work because I can't just say, sorry, I got to go stop doing what I'm doing and go eat a meal. Sometimes it's just easier just to have my protein drink. And I do a really good protein powder drink. It's Dot Nutrition, so Dot Fit. So yeah, it's totally preference wise, but yeah, it's mostly digestive issues. If anybody else could agree.
Yeah. Anybody else want to chime in on that?
Totally agree. I can't do whey protein powder anymore because it bloats me so bad. So I just do Vital Proteins, which is a collagen-based protein, or I'll do bone broth protein powder. I love whey protein and all the great flavors, but my stomach can't handle it anymore. So
yeah,
a lot of them do have a lot of fillers in them. You have to really be careful what protein powders out there because they do have a lot of fillers.
Yeah. And I think the awesome thing that, just for clarification for all the listeners, I mean, the benefit of whey has always notoriously been it's the highest in leucine, which is one of the branched chain aminos and is most related to gaining or maintaining lean muscle for older adults, specifically north of 50. And yet, because a lot of women now no longer are tolerating dairy of any kind, and whey, part of the benefit is it's rapidly digested. But part of that problem then is it makes it a bigger problem if your body is not breaking down those proteins. More of them just went in, not digested, now are broken down. So that's where the dilemma is for someone who's listening or watching and saying, well, what about whey? Or that kind of will unpack it a little. You may still have questions, and you should ask. And I think everybody should potentially still test, meaning try it if you're curious about it, or you've got some on the shelf. Test yourself. How do you feel with it? We're all a study of one, and find out what happens for you. Did anybody else want to contribute to that on use of protein powders, whether you use them, like them, continue to use them before a show?
I use protein powders now, but before the show, or before, as the closer I get, it'll only be whole foods.
Okay.
Just like Janine, same reason. It's digestive issues. I don't use whey because it upsets my stomach. I use plant protein. But it is in the shows, everybody up there is so amazing, and the differences in your physiques are minute. I mean, they can really be small. So my coach always says, do you want to take a chance? And because it may or may not make a big difference, but if it can make a difference, then why take a chance? Just go whole food. So I listen to my coach.
Right. What about, while we're on this topic, what about creatine? Is anybody doing creatine to support protein? Yes.
I take it every day, every morning. Yes.
Great.
5 grams.
I just started it about 2.5 weeks ago, so it's new for me, and I like it. I feel like I'm fuller. Now I do feel like I'm a little bit more bloated because of it, but I'm hoping that'll taper off as time goes on. But I'm glad. I hadn't taken it ever before, just till a few weeks ago. But I'm liking it. I'm liking it.
Fantastic. And you all are very conscientious and really dedicated to doing the whole food, to taking things with you, making that convenient, because it's just become a habit. You probably don't even give it a second thought anymore. What about are you doing a supplement of essential amino acids or a branched chain amino acid on top of trying to eat them all? And Helen, you have the most erratic schedule probably of all of us. So speak into that.
No, I do. I do EAAs every day, and
Okay.
then 5 grams of creatine. I honestly think both are extremely helpful in my fitness journey. And I know about 2 weeks out of a show, I go off of all supplements like that too. Just because, like Renee was talking about earlier, creatine does have a tendency to bloat you. It's like holding water, like your muscles holding water. So you want to definitely try to deplete that, because you want to be as lean and as ripped as possible on stage.
That's right.
Okay, so as lean and ripped, so now we're really going here. I think everybody is going to be really curious. And I think there's also, just so that we put this out there, maybe before we start tossing around numbers, that there's a wide range of healthy and where you feel good and where you feel the best. And I know that recently, Renee, it was within the last few days, you posted something and you said, but this isn't sustainable. So I kind of want to dig and unpack that. What do you get to? Where does your body fat, your body composition get to kind of when you're about to step on stage for a show versus this is good all day energy for me, just, when I'm not doing a show? What's the difference there? So I'll let each and every one of you talk so you can just decide who goes first. Renee?
Okay. Yeah, I did post something. It was from 1 year ago, right before I was competing at the Republic of Texas in Austin, and it was just a practice in my hotel room, and that's where I posted. I was probably about 110, maybe 109, and I'm 117 right now, and that's just not a sustainable weight. You can see your muscles, you see a lot more of all that, but that is not realistic to maintain. Without just some serious challenges. To me, it's just not sustainable. So I'm usually 10 pounds more than what my stage weight would be, and I'm comfortable with that. So that's really just the reality of it. I think you can do some damage to yourself if you don't go back to eating more healthy as time goes on.
Do you test your body composition? Do you know what
I
it is?
do. I have tested some. I don't test it constantly, but whenever I'm on, like on stage, I'm in the around 19%. So I'm not nearly as thin, but as we age, I mean, that skinny mini body fat, you're not looking so good. So, I don't want to be, 100 and 10, whatever. I don't want to be that little bit of 10% body fat or whatever like that. So I'm usually when I'm not competing, I'm probably 25 to maybe 28% body fat, and that's okay. But I feel better having some extra fat on me as a more mature woman. So and I don't get hung up in it too much, really. I think people just go too crazy with it, really, and get obsessed with it, and that to me just doesn't work for me. So
great comments. Helen?
I agree with Renee. I'm normally about, with being an ectomorph and a hard gainer, I've really had a hard time putting on weight because constant feedback from judges is that you have to come in fuller, you have to come in fuller. And so luckily, another blessing in disguise, I've had some health issues this year and a couple of little, accidents. And so my workouts up to this point this year haven't been as consistent. But it's kind of a blessing for me because I have put on 10 pounds and I'm really happy about that, because even though I've got this little extra fluff going on, I can still see muscle, there. And so hopefully that's going to be so beneficial for me when I decide to do a prep and I decide to start, working on, leaning out. I will come in, a lot fuller on stage. So it's a mindset thing. I mean, especially for a woman, we all get wrapped up in this whole physical appearance thing. And if we see a little bit of belly fat or a little bit of creepiness on our legs or on the back of our, hamstrings, everybody's freaking out. But kind of like you all, I mean, I'm sure I can speak for everybody. I mean, especially being in your 60s and 70s, you know, it is what it is. So you make the best of it. And weight training is a great way to, you know, tighten up things. So I think it's a win-win if you start a resistance training program, not only for your aesthetic look, but you know, I just had a fall on over in Europe, and I could have broken bones and had a really, really tough way of going. And but luckily, just a couple of like minor issues that I'm, you know, back on track. So, and I attribute that to strong bones because those cobblestone streets did a number on me. So,
Goodness sakes, we're glad you're here too. Yeah, Tama or Janine?
Do you want to go, Janine? Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Tim. Go ahead.
Oh, don't be so polite. Yeah.
Okay. So I think I'll talk a little bit about calories. Maybe that can relate a lot to, so people can understand it too. Right now, I'm at about 2,000 calories a day. When I get to a show, right before the show, I'll be down to about 1,200 calories. You lean off slowly, like you'll take 200 calories out, and you'll do that for a couple of weeks. And then you'll do 200 more calories and 200 more calories until you get to the point. I weigh about 120 pounds right now. My show weight is normally 110 pounds, but I have really been trying to build some muscle and grow. So I'm hoping that I can come in at about 112 or 114 pounds for my show weight this time, and you know, have some more muscle, because muscle weighs more than
right.
fat does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about body composition? Do you track that? Do you know what your percent body fat would be at your show weight?
You know, I don't. I do measurements. So I try not to really focus too much on what the scale says either, because you can say, when on my leg days, the next day, if I got on the scale, I could weigh 3 to 5 pounds heavier from the inflammation.
Yeah.
So I try to just do my waist measurement and my hip measurement. If I want to, I'll do thigh or, you know, arms just to see. But I do those two measurements and just how my clothes feel. And I haven't done the body composition, although it would be interesting.
Yeah. No, great comments, though. I think in regard to, you threw something out there that everybody listening, you know, if you're new to strength training, you know, these women are talking about probably some tough, challenging workouts, especially the closer they get to shows and they're leaning out. But it's relative to you. So if you're just beginning and you do a workout, it's challenging to you and you do have some inflammation, that response, which is not a bad thing. I think we're used to right now hearing inflammation and, oh, that's terrible, it's terrible. But it's a natural response. It's your body reacting to it and doing what it should be doing to it. It's not a permanent thing, it's a temporary thing. And that will change when you get on the scale, what it is that you're seeing. Janine.
Well, I feel like I'm kind of like the opposite. It's really, like I said, I'm a hard gainer. And right now I'm also over 2,000 calories. And it's a lot of food, especially being clean. And I will be going probably into my show in 2,000 calories. So as far as being deprived or peak week, anything like that, doesn't really change for me. My struggle is trying to maintain my weight, my fullness. And the one thing is nice about bikini now is that you're not seeing the women that are winning are not so thin anymore. And that, to me, they look more fuller. I think that's nice. I don't like them to the point where they're almost looking like wellness, but I think that is really a more feminine look than looking really too thin. And like I said, I'm just trying to maintain and build, and hopefully when I get on stage in 8 weeks that I'm fuller. And that, like I said, that's a struggle for me.
Love this.
And also, I also get a cheat meal once a week too. I don't know if anybody else gets that, but that's always nice. I need that refeed.
What is that cheat then?
It depends. It could be pizza. It just kind of depends on what I'm feeling like. But honestly, when I get that cheat meal, I'm like, it wasn't all that worth it. It's like, it didn't really sustain anything. So, but it is nice. I mean, your body does need that refuel kind of once you've been on such a clean clean diet for so long, sometimes it's good to have that refeed just to reset your metabolism a little bit.
Yeah, metabolic
it really helps,
flexibility.
and it's good for the mindset too. It's not
Totally.
so
You also, you mentioned something that kind of piques my curiosity, which is, now the people who are winning. So is that just kind of like a trend? And as the judges call it, this is what they're tending to like now, or how does that evolve over time?
Well, I think, this sport is so subjective to begin with, is that, one show you may see somebody win who's still very thin, but like the judges say, they go by whatever's in the lineup. If everybody's thin, and then they have to pick the best one. If everybody's full, they have to pick who's the best. So it's very subjective. It just depends on who shows up that day.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. Okay. The last question, and I'm going to leave it open just in case we have an open door, so there's something else to come up. But I think you've hinted at it, but I want to ask potentially more directly. So those of you who have families, who have a social life, how has being so involved, so dedicated, what someone watching might say, so disciplined, how has that fit in with the rest of your life? I mean, Helen, you're such a good one you're traveling, you're globe trotting. That's great. But for the rest of you, with fitting with families and celebrations and just being a human woman, how is this working for you? And was there ever a moment where you feel or felt this has really got to take a lot of discipline or willpower, or there's a little deprivation to it?
Well, I'll speak to that. In fact, after this, I'm going to a graduation. And then my kids want to go camping, and I'm thinking, I can't. I mean, I want to do it. Yes, I want to. But they're really supportive. I mean, they know. I mean, honestly, you can do whatever. I mean, you can go camping, and the graduation, they're going to be having a party, and I'll make tonight my cheat night and be good and just, have fun and celebrate my he's kind of like a son to me, graduation. So, you do have to live. You don't want this to consume you. That's the thing, especially at our age. I mean, we've been through so much, kids, grandchildren, so many diversities in our life, jobs, career. I mean, I still work. I take my meals to work, and all my nurse buddies are all so supportive. So, you make it what you want. You can make it a negative situation, or you can make it a positive situation.
So good.
I agree. Go ahead. Go ahead, Tamara.
I have kind of a funny story that kind of happened to us this last week. When I first started this journey, it was a little bit hard on my family. They didn't quite understand it. But as they saw how important it was to me, and they saw the results of what I was doing, then they got on board. And now it's just so normal. And I have a large family. I have 5 children and 7 grandchildren. And every Sunday we have family dinner. My husband always gets treats for the grandkids. And if there's a birthday, we always have a birthday cake. So just 2 weeks ago, we were celebrating someone's birthday. And I said, I'll have a small piece of that cake. And I could hear whispers. Mimi, they call me Mimi, not grandma. Mimi's having cake. Mimi's having cake. Did you see Mimi's having cake? Everybody was like, oh my gosh, Mimi's having cake. So finally the 6-year-old comes over to me and she goes, Mimi, I don't think this piece of cake fits in with your healthy lifestyle. I better eat it for you.
How cute. That is so cute.
But families adjust and they get on board and they support, and it rubs off on them, and they start eating healthier, and they understand why you're doing it. So anyhow, sorry, that was my story.
That was great. That was just great.
That's a great story. That's great. Well, I was just going to say too about, I've only been doing this for 2 years. Lots of people have been doing it a lot longer, and I started late. So, and I was very quiet about it when I first started competing. I didn't tell friends and that I was even going to compete, and I kept it to myself. But actually, as time has gone on, my friends are very supportive. they know whenever, if I'm going to go do things with them, I might not eat the same as them. I mean, I travel. I mean, I'm going to be on a cruise ship mid-June. I mean, I do all kinds of things. So I would just say, to me, I want to live my life. I have less life than some other people do that are here. I mean, you know, relatively speaking. So I'm really wanting to grab all the fun I can, and I try to balance that. And nobody has been really that judgmental to, you know, that are my good friends, my family. They all understand. And the ones who don't, well, you know, you have to sort of rethink that. Maybe you don't tell them everything. I mean, that's what I do. I just don't share as much with some people as I might with others, because not everybody understands it. It's not that they're not supportive; they just don't understand it. Not that it's good or bad, but yeah, my friends know. I mean, if I'm going to go out, I might eat ahead of time before I go to a function, so I make sure I got my protein in, and I won't be so hungry. You know, I won't be so desperate for food. And if it's a restaurant or a place with alcohol, you know, I'm thinking ahead of time. I mean, Diet Coke, as bad as it is, I'll drink Diet Coke if I need to have a beverage when I'm with other people. You know, like I go to the Astros games and I bring my own popcorn. I pop my own popcorn and I bring my tuna packets, and I will drink their Diet Coke. So I'm making it work. You know, and life is too short not to enjoy it, you know. And hey, I'm in my 70s, ladies. So it's a little different scenario. And I started later. So I'm living a little bit different situation here, but you know, it's all doable, and I feel like you are supported, and we have this whole group here, you know, this tribe, and I feel like that was the big thing. Whenever I did discover the bodybuilding community, I found my people, you know, at 69 years old. So it's never too late, but people who love you support you.
So good. Helen, do you want to chime in on that?
No, I agree. I think friend and family support is huge. And it's kind of funny because if I ever get together with my family or even with friends, if I'm going over to somebody's house, they'll reach out to me and say, well, here's what I'm having. Can you eat this? And sometimes I'm like, yes, I can. Or if I can't, I'll say, look, don't worry about it. I'll bring my own, and I just bring my own food over. But the thought that they're actually being thoughtful and, you know, asking ahead of what I can and cannot have. And then if I go out to eat, kind of like Renee, I'll just go onto their website and check out their menu and see what they have. And then I'll decide ahead of time what I'm going to have. And they're very accommodating. Sometimes I'm like, well, can I have the salmon? But I don't want any butter, or I just want to grill plain, or, you know, just stuff like that. And usually a lot of the restaurants are very accommodating to your dietary needs, regardless of what it is. But, you know, family and friend support is huge, because bodybuilding is a very lonely sport. And so it's not a team effort. It's you versus you, as you see all over social media. So it's just a matter of, you know, taking it one day at a time, and, you know, working on your goals, and just an eyes always forward approach.
I think everybody is probably tuning in, or did tune in, because I mean, bodybuilding, I think immediately it comes to mind, like you see glutes in your head, you see glutes in a bikini in your head. It's like, yes, I want that. But tell me this, answer this last question. How has it strengthened you from the inside? How has it changed you being involved?
Good question.
For me?
There's a big pregnant pause, y'all. So if you're listening to the audio, they're all thinking. I can see that, which is great. Yeah. Janine, do you want to go?
Yeah. Well, I think for me, bodybuilding has built a lot more confidence, just a lot more aware of my physical being, and just I can't even begin to tell you what it's done for me, physically and mentally. It has really helped me.
Amazing.
I agree. I think through good times and bad, especially if you're going through rough patches at home or something along that line. I mean, the gym, years ago, and I was going through a divorce, if it wasn't for working out, I don't even know if I'd be here. I was just in such a horrible mental state, and working out saved me. Literally saved me. So I agree with that 100%, Janine.
I also have to say that I have met the most incredible women in bodybuilding. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how supportive, how wonderful, the camaraderie. It's just, it's like, yes, it's a competition, but in the long run, they're there for you, you're there for them. And that's to me, it's priceless.
It really is. I mean, I agree with that too. Just really quickly, I think we all get excited when we are all deciding to do one specific show. I'm more excited about going and seeing one and thinking about where we're going to eat after and what we're going to have and what kind of
no
wine
gloves.
we're going to have and whatever. Exactly right. But yeah, so I agree 1,000%. I've met the most wonderful women who have become like lifelong friends. Exactly.
Was that a surprise? I mean, did you think it might be a little bit more egocentric to be involved in the sport? Was it surprising to you?
I think so, because I think, when you first start thinking about the bodybuilding world, you don't really can't associate it with anything. So I'm thinking, well, maybe it's kind of like a pageant type thing. And then there's here all the backstabbing, and stabbing in the back, behind during, other things going on. I'm thinking, well, is that how it's going to be? But I really haven't had, any issues. Everybody's open and friendly and accommodating. And if you forgot your shoes at home, someone's going to let you have borrow a pair of shoes or makeup or whatever. Everybody brings back, oh, you try this, use this, you can borrow this, so it's very heartwarming.
And I agree. And I mean, it doesn't even have to be the bodybuilding world. I guess that's the thing, not everybody can associate to bodybuilding, but just, the community of, where you're lifting weights and you're doing this on a regular basis, people are supportive of one another just right off the get-go. If somebody at the gym has never even thought about competing, you have a camaraderie there. And I guess that's what makes it so cool. And we're all in it for our health. And whatever you look like in a bikini, that's a side effect of that work you're doing. And that was the thing for me. Is I feel like for me, I mean, I don't know, I have so many friends and peers, and I don't know if they know what their next 10 years are going to look like, but I feel so good about my next 10 years and 20 years from now. And I just feel like that is something I had no idea about until all this started. So you just don't know what's in front of you. But so many awesome things are whenever you embrace this fitness lifestyle.
Pema, any additional comment?
I would say I've always been a pretty confident person, but this has given me a confidence to do things that I thought I could never do. So a confidence to know that, I mean, let's face it, getting on stage in an itty bitty bikini with 6-inch heels is terrifying, but I can do that. I did that. How cool is that? So it gives me kind of an energy, a challenge, like, okay, so I may be 60 years old, but life is still full of so many opportunities. And it gives me the encouragement to know that, gosh, anything's possible.
Amazing. Amazing. All right. I'm going to give any of you one last chance. If there's something you want to chime in or a thought you've just had, this is your chance to throw it at the screen.
I have, if someone were to tell me when I was in my 20s that I would be parading around in dental floss in heels on stage in front of 500 strangers, I would have been like, you're off your rocker, so, anything is possible. And I'm just a firm believer in just the universe always has your back, and be open and receptive to opportunity.
Amazing. And
regardless of your age.
Yes, right. Regardless, it's irrelevant. I've heard rumor has it, right?
I just wanted to thank you too, Deborah, for doing this. This is wonderful. And I think you have a wonderful podcast, and you really do a great job of educating women. And I feel very honored to be part of this with you.
Well, I would second that. Definitely second that. You're a great platform.
Yeah.
Thank
One
you
last
so
thing
much.
is just everybody listening, it's never too late to start.
Yeah, that's right. Amen. Absolutely.
Beautifully said. And everyone's contact, where to follow them, the things they want to share anyway, will be below the show notes. So you'll find those at flipping50.com/bodybuilding. And what are you waiting for? Let's start flipping 50 today.